Okay, hello and welcome to the MSDynamicsWorld.com webcast series. I'm Jason Gumpert and we are joined today by Rob Curls, a solutions consultant and architect at Concerto Cloud Services. Rob is a returning speaker for us. We're really glad to have him back. And as we get this event started, please know that we invite you to, in the audience to add your feedback and ask questions during today's event. You can use the Q&A block that you should see to the right of the slides to ask questions of Rob. So without further delay, let me hand things off to Rob.
Thanks, Jason. So good morning, everyone. Good afternoon if you're on the East Coast or east of me. I'm based out of Tampa, Florida. So this morning we're going to talk about the case for the cloud, a little bit about compliant cloud solutions for ISVs, and then briefly talk about what we're seeing in terms of hybrid cloud with deployments for customers and ISVs. So it's no surprise that organizations are moving to the cloud. It's been talked about, and prophets have been saying that they're going to be doing it for years and years now. And really in 2013, we started seeing a large uptick in cloud adoption. 2014 increased. 2015 just everything is cloud. I think customers are starting with a cloud-first model and a cloud-first mindset. And as such, we need to make sure that our solutions that we're going to be bringing to the table to help meet some of their industry and niche needs are cloud enabled, and we start with kind of that cloud first strategy ourselves. So the chart on the left, the statistics there were actually given out at Convergence this year. It's amazing. I never knew that NAV had that many more deployments than any other product. But all in, there's roughly 200,000 deployments of Microsoft Dynamics, whether that be ERP or CRM worldwide. And the chart on the right is actually a sampling of MSDynamicsWorld.com users and people in the community. And the question asked was, are you considering the cloud for Dynamics in the future? And so of those 200,000 deployments, 34% of them are looking to take Dynamics to the cloud. It's interesting, I don't have the statistic on here or in this chart, but actually 18% of those respondents already have Dynamics in the cloud. So you're looking at over 50%, I think it's 52% of the market is either in the cloud today or with Dynamics or is going to be going to the cloud. So more than half of those deployments will be cloud deployments in the very near future. So as ISVs, you need to be prepared to bring your solution to cloud-ready deployments, whether that means deployment as a subscription-based model from a pricing perspective, or web-ready for the newer versions of the clients that are going to be coming out. I think it's Wayne Gretzky who said, the great Wayne Gretzky, who said, he never skated where the puck was. He always wanted to make sure that you skate where the puck is going to be. I think it's appropriate right now. We're in the time for the Stanley Cup. Go Lightning. So we need to make sure that we're looking at where these deployments are going to be going, where the users want their solutions to be going, as we plan for new updates to our products and services moving forward. I think a big challenge that a lot of ISVs are facing today is that they've been in this industry for 15, 20 years. They've built their solutions as legacy-based client-server applications, or they've tied directly into the database, and they present themselves through the traditional rich client for the product. You're going to have to very quickly get on board with these newer clients, with these web clients, to be able to stay current and be able to still be the niche leader in the solution that you offer. Otherwise, another provider is going to come along with that web client and gobble up your market share. So the financial benefits alone are enough to compel many providers to make the switch to a cloud-based offering. So it's amazing to me, this IDC poll here, that of customers or of organizations who are 50% or greater on cloud revenue, that they have recurring revenue greater than 54%, and their growth rates are incredible, 43% growth rates. You look at you contrast that to the Pacific Crest survey to the left, and you see that the average gross margin on these solutions is 80%. So, I mean, what do your margins look like on your traditional on-premise deployments? I mean, how do they compare to that of these SaaS providers that are out there? It really is a great opportunity that ISVs have with going to the cloud. So, leading into that, how does your application compare to other applications that are out there in your niche? Are you still selling a legacy-based application, or are you 100% on board with these new web-based applications with this cloud-based pricing and deployment model? I mean, a lot of ISVs that are out there that I've spoken with, they have maybe a 2-year plan that they're recoding their application, and you can't wait 2 years to get on board with these deployment models. So how can you get there today? How can you start offering a cloud solution, maybe with your legacy code base that you have? Well, I think Adobe did it best. They looked several years ago at the cloud. They knew that they wanted to provide a cloud solution. They took their suite of legacy-based, client-based applications, these are all rich clients, and rather than recoding them, retooling them to be a web-based interface, they continued to be a desktop interface or a traditional client. However, the way that they sold it is they wrapped it in there in a cloud model to where it's subscription-based services, subscription-based pricing. Customers are able to get one or many, and their revenue is just exploded over the course of the last 5 years since they've went to this model. So customers don't necessarily have to recreate the wheel or recreate their applications in order to jump on the bandwagon, so to speak, of the industry that is going cloud. So the cornerstone of being able to repackage your applications and your solutions to sell them as a cloud-based model really is your cloud service provider. And you don't necessarily have to hitch yourself to one wagon. You could have multiple CSPs that you partner with. You can leverage their relationships with the VARs that they work with to have a go-to-market, a ready-to-deploy certified solution. So this brings you a couple different advantages. One, you can start selling into a VAR base. I mean, I'm assuming that your organization sells in a channel-based model, so you're working with VARs. The VARs are the ones who are evangelizing your products out in the field and telling the end customers that this is the best solution for this particular need. So this is the best EDI solution, the best BI solution. So your CSP can introduce you to more VARs. They're maybe working with VARs that you aren't working with or aren't familiar with your application. In addition to that, your existing VAR base, maybe the CSP isn't working with. Maybe there's some chance for a win-win there where you can introduce the VAR to your CSP and say, hey, this is a vetted, certified, tested, tried and true solution. We've deployed it with hundreds of customers through the other VARs that the CSP works with. You should get on board and you should work with this particular CSP because we know that it's going to be a quality solution for your end customer. So your CSP really is your new go-to partner in these relationships because they can help expand your business. Not all VARs have a good cloud story today. Some of them, maybe they have a homegrown cloud solution that's kludgy at best. Maybe they're leveraging a third party that isn't delivering the uptime that they need. You may run into a situation where you want your name to be synonymous with a quality product, and your VAR may be deploying your solution in an environment that isn't necessarily associated with a quality name, so to say. And by hitching your product to a CSP that can deliver 4 nines of uptime, that can that has industry certifications that can meet high compliance needs, you may actually outlive your VARs relationship with that end customer. So going back to that Adobe scenario, your CSP can help cloud enable your existing solution, and whether that's in conjunction with Dynamics or possibly as a standalone solution. And we've worked with customers where they have, say, BI is a great example, to where they wanted to go to market with their BI solution as BI in the cloud. And they don't care if ERP is associated with it or not. They're not selling ERP, they're selling BI. And so we're able to create a deployment model wrapped around their solution that didn't have to recreate the wheel, didn't have to recode. We have the data warehouse that exists in the cloud. We can establish connectivity back to the on-prem systems to be able to do some automation around the uploading of data to the data warehouse and refreshing of data. And we're able to do this with other solutions as well. We've done warehouse management. We've done EDI solutions. There's some solutions I would say where it's not a good fit is maybe if your application is coded directly into, say, the GP database where you just add an additional table there. It doesn't necessarily work well in that aspect. That's a scenario where you'd have to deploy GP in the cloud. You couldn't just have your solution in the cloud. And additionally, in addition to getting that solution, your CSP, can pull the Jerry Maguire and they can show you the money. They whether it's hosting your solution or just being a referral partner for you or for them, where you may have an end customer that says, listen, I love your product, I love your solution, we love ERP, but we want this in the cloud. We don't know where to go. Who can we trust? Where would you recommend we put that product? And you can have that relationship with your CSP where, these guys are the ones who are going to take care of you. We trust them. We've vetted with them. We've done many deployments with you. So there are many customers or many companies that are out there that 4 or 5 years ago said, you know what, we're going to get ahead of this curve. We're going to be early adopters. We're going to deploy our own cloud. And they've been successfully doing it. Maybe they like doing it. Maybe they do view that as part of their core competency. There are still scenarios where a CSP can benefit you. We've run across many of them where they need enhanced compliance to where the customer maybe needs a PCI compliant cloud solution for their product, but now the ISV says, I don't want to make that investment. That's too much risk. I'm not willing to take on that risk for that reward of that one particular customer. Well, you can use your CSP for those deployments. So maybe all of your non-high-risk deployments go in your cloud, and maybe some of the more high-risk deployments like PCI or HIPAA deployments, or maybe if a customer has to have ITAR compliance, that's where you leverage your CSP, where you can have those more compliant solutions. I think a great story of this is a partner of ours that's down in South Florida, that they focus on public sector medical type data, working with state and local governments to track public safety information and healthcare information for customers maybe that are using some type of Medicaid type service. They could have gone and deployed their own solution, but they didn't. They chose to partner with the CSP because they knew that they had to be HIPAA certified, that they were dealing with extremely confidential patient information. And we were able to help them with establishing their environment, setting them up with demo environments, test environments, so that way they could really scale as they grew. They didn't have to make that initial investment in all of that infrastructure that would be required to have all of these environments set up for their customers. So it's been really a win-win-win from our perspective, the client's perspective, and the end customer's perspective, to be able to have a ready-to-go solution that can be deployed rapidly. In addition to meeting those compliance requirements that we had talked about before that your CSP can help you with, there are other phases of running your own cloud that might not be attractive to you. As I mentioned, there's always additional risk and cost. We have one partner that we've started in the phase of we're going to be their compliant cloud, and it's actually evolving into, why are we doing this at all? We should take our product, we should put it in their cloud environment, get rid of our data centers. Their CIO has said to us that we don't want to be in the data center business anymore. We're tired of this. They've gone through the hardware refresh cycles. It's expensive, and it carries additional risk for the organization that's not necessary. I think your CSP can help alleviate those risks. They have proven tools that they can use to restrict access. We deploy things and following industry standard idle processes. They can get you in data centers that maybe you wouldn't be able to get to, or they can be an extension to where maybe you have a customer that needs to have a deployment of your solution in Brazil. Your CSP can have a data center there where you wouldn't have to invest in that infrastructure for that. And finally, your CSP can really help take you into the future. Customers are deploying hybrid solutions now. It's not just a matter of is this public or is this private. Everything is a mixture, and some things, depending on the workload, will go into the public cloud. Some items will go into the private cloud, and you know what? Quite frankly, some items will still always stay on-prem because whether it's just a risk profile, maybe, I think a great scenario. I have a friend of mine who's based out of Colorado that he has a business in, we'll call it agriculture, new agriculture. But he and I have had conversations about moving his financials over into Concerto, and he just will not do it because he doesn't want to run the risk of having his provider be subpoenaed. So things will always stay on premise for him. But in this hybrid world, your CSP really has the ability to establish the connectivity to build these hybrid solutions. So you can leverage their investments that they've made, and you can focus more on your core competency in your industry solutions rather than specializing in Microsoft's latest data center connectivity functions. So really we need to sit back and look, where are you today? Most companies have customers asking, so they have some type of basic or rudimentary model for pricing their solution as a SaaS model or pricing into the cloud. But sit back and ask yourself the hard questions. What's working, and what are our next steps? Are we all in on this cloud strategy? And what does that even mean to be prepared to be all in on this cloud strategy? A significant chunk of the channel is cautiously dipping into cloud computing. The channel is all in on cloud, with 93% of firms characterizing their cloud solution as mature or somewhat mature. So how do you rate against your peers in this market? And how do customers rate you against your peers? I think it's probably the bigger question. When polled, it's interesting to see what customers actually listed as differentiators for the various solutions in cloud and what their most important topics were. Things like industry-specific solutions, a partner who understands my business, a trustworthy company, the product uptime and reliability. What I don't see anywhere on this chart is price. So I think that a lot of people have thought that I need to build the cheapest solution out there that's possible. It needs to be multi-tenant so I can have economies of scale. Well, you may think that's important, but have you actually asked your customers if that's what they want? Because according to 451 research, that is not what your customers want. So Jason, I will hand it back over to you. I don't know if we have any questions or not.
All right, we have a couple of questions here. How does support services from the VAR or ISV typically work with a CSP?
So we have partners that often are the first line of support, meaning that they know their industry solution. They know their product better than anybody else. So they'll call in. It really depends on is the solution wholly in the cloud, or is the solution a component of the ERP package? So if it's an ISV that's a component of the ERP deployment, usually the VAR who supports that customer, who really has the day-to-day relationship, would do that. We have other software companies that their solution's a standalone product and it just happens to run in our cloud, that they typically handle the first line of defense. They'll get the call in from the customer. They own that customer relationship anyways. They troubleshoot the product, and if they need assistance from a connectivity standpoint, from a performance standpoint of say database, disk, anything like that, then they can reach into our team, our support team. We're staffed 24/7 to provide that support.
All right. How do ISVs or VARs balance a new provider with other providers they may already have in place? Do many partners have more than one?
That's a great question, and lots of partners do have more than one, both on the ISV side and on the VAR side. So we work with several VARs who maybe we're a third provider where they have a low-cost solution, because ultimately we don't view ourselves as a low-cost solution. We want to be a premium player in the industry, and we provide extreme amounts of uptime, extreme performance, et cetera. So a customer may have, or I should say a VAR may have a customer that maybe they don't fall onto that list of that chart that I showed. Maybe price is the most important thing to them, and they want it cheap. We wouldn't be a good solution. They may say, okay, well, we're acceptable, or 3 nines are acceptable, or 2 nines are acceptable for my uptime. So they'll go with a low-cost provider for that customer. They may have another customer that requires a PCI compliant solution, and then maybe that's the cloud provider that they offer that through. On the software side, we have lots of customers that it's very similar. They look for things that are high in compliance, are more specialized, where a customer wants a private cloud solution. We have this conversation all the time where the software company has a customer that has patient data and they don't want a public cloud offering. So while their traditional product is offered as a service, say in AWS, or running as an application on Azure, for the more specialized deployments, larger deployments, enterprise deployments, they deploy those in the private cloud.
Right. We have one last question here, so let me make a final call for questions. What is your USP for Dynamics partners?
I guess I don't know the answer to that. The USP acronym, sorry. Draw a blank.
Yeah, if the person who asked that wants to let us know what you meant by USP, please respond back in with that. We do have one other question here. Actually, let's see, it might be a repeat. Typical use case for partners who already, so you did cover this. Can they benefit from working with a CSP if they already have a cloud solution? Or maybe that's a little different.
Absolutely. Again, like I had mentioned before, where there may be a niche solution there where you excuse me, you may have your own cloud solution, you may be hosting your own cloud in-house, but you have a customer who has PCI data and you don't want to do PCI, or you have a customer who has ITAR requirements or CGIS compliance requirements, and maybe you have an outsourced support model which wouldn't meet ITAR. CGIS compliance would be for customers you're doing any jail management, working basically with anything that would have criminal records information. You could then target those specific industries or those specific customers by leveraging that relationship with your CSP.
All right, great. So just to get back to that last question, the question was, what's your unique selling proposition for Dynamics partners?
I would say that from a VAR perspective, that we can provide solutions for your end customers or for you that provide stringent compliance standards, that provide stringent uptime requirements, and maybe some of the more complex workloads, we view ourselves as we sell complex workloads in the cloud. So we host some of the world's largest AX deployments. We have some of the largest AX retail components and e-commerce components that are offered in our cloud because we can drive extremely large deployment models within our environment. So with Azure, you're limited to X number of cores, X number of RAM, and we have some customers who have deployments of 5-node SQL clusters. We offer that are 32 cores and half a terabyte of RAM. We're able to scale up to that to meet those needs. We also offer more than just building blocks. With things like AWS and Azure, public cloud solutions like that, they're nice. They give you building blocks where you can go out and build solutions. Whereas when you work more with a cloud service provider like Concerto, you're getting a solution rather than building blocks. You're coming to us and saying, okay, I need to run this particular ERP solution, or I need to run ERP for manufacturing in this industry, and we have these compliance pieces wrapped around it, and you get that. You get the deployed AX environment, you get database administration, you get load balancing, all part of it, and it's handed to you already done. Hope that helps.
Yeah, and there was actually a follow-up on that, and asking for specifics related to Dynamics compared to other software solutions in your value.
In ours in particular, I would say yes, because we have such a rich history of supporting Dynamics environments. So our cloud environment really was built to support Dynamics. So we target Dynamics customers. So we have AX, GP, SL, Nav, and several CRM deployments within our environment. We don't go after other solutions like Oracle Financials, SAP, things like that. So our team members, we actually have AX experts on staff. We have GP experts, CRM experts, all on staff to support the environments that these people used to be consultants in those particular applications, and now they've moved more to the cloud support model.
All right, great. Well, that gets us to the end of the question queue here, so we can start wrapping up. We are recording today's session. We'll be making that available to everyone. Rob, thanks so much for joining us today.
Absolutely, Jason. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks, everyone in the audience. Have a great day. Please look for the survey on the way out. We do appreciate your feedback, as does our speaker. It'll surely take a few seconds to fill out. With that, we will end the session. Have a great day.